Even when you're shooting with a budget camera setup, it's super easy to come up with a shot looking just like this. When you're shooting videos, exposing the background and the foreground should definitely be one of your priorities. And even though cheaper cameras generally have worse dynamic range than more expensive ones, you can still change your lighting conditions to get a more cinematic feel. So I'll close this window to make sure the foreground and background are both exposed, but I'll also leave the blinds open a little bit to let some light bleed through and add some contrast to the shot. Except now the room's a lot darker and I'm underexposed, but that's alright because I have this $40 light from Amazon just here, which also came with a diffuser. And if you're interested, definitely check the links below. Is have it coming towards me from an angle, and then I get a little shadow on the left side of my face, but the diffuser also means that the shadows aren't too harsh. Now I've dialed the ISO down to 400 and opened the aperture up to f5. That way there's not so much noise going on in the background and the image looks a lot sharper. I also added some practical lights to the background. Just a salt lamp and fairy lights are enough to help separate me from the background, but also make the video feel more relaxed and natural. So even with a really nice picture, shitty audio is going to throw your whole video off and make it really hard to watch. So you really want to get audio right, but it doesn't matter because you can still do that on a budget. So for full disclosure, this is the Shure VP83 microphone, and it's by no means a budget mic. In fact, it was around $300–400 on eBay. But the way I was able to afford it was just by selling old camera gear that I didn't need anymore and then upgrading to this. So even though there's good budget options out there like the Rode Video Mic Go, lapel mics, I'd still suggest upgrading to one of these. Now being a shotgun mic, this is great in all situations, whether it be documentary, short film, piece to cameras like this. The tricky part is getting it positioned correctly. Obviously I don't have a boom pole operator or even a microphone stand for that matter. So this is where the very low budget hacks come in. I'm going to attach the microphone to this old Canon and then sit it on top of a tripod, and I know this is really dodgy, but if you're on a budget and you already have these things sitting around, it seems to work pretty well. Alright, that should be an instant improvement in the audio. Obviously you want the mic to be as close as possible to you. If it's just above you, the sound will be spot on, but as I said, I don't have a dedicated boom stand, so I've just positioned it in front of me but not in the frame. And from there you'll want an extension cable from the microphone to the camera. I know Rode does a really solid one for around $20, and again, I'll link that below. Alright, with lighting and audio spot on now, you want to make sure that you're getting the most out of your camera. I imagine this will be pretty quick because most of you should know how to operate your camera properly, but nevertheless there's some things that we should definitely keep in mind. One of which is lenses, and they'll give a different vibe to the video depending on what you're shooting with. But for these YouTube style videos, wider lenses seem to work better because that's what's similar to when you're talking to someone and that's how you really see things. Now you really have to keep in mind the focal length that you're shooting at. You don't want something too wide, around 10mm, because it's just gonna, things are gonna be getting distorted. It's not gonna look natural. So I'm gonna shoot it around 14mm. That way it's not too wide, but it still shows the background, and I can also keep my aperture at around f5. Alright, that's the building blocks of the video done, but you can also add music as long as you do it properly. It doesn't matter what songs you use, but you want them to match the vibe of the video, and you also don't want anything with lyrics. So right now I'm using a lo-fi track. It's pretty chill, it suits the feel of this video, and it also doesn't have lyrics which interfere with my voice. This goes hand in hand with the second rule, which is don't blast the music. Just drop the gain down to around -20, and that way you can still hear the music and your voice at the same time. Now most people will stop there without doing the most important step, which is to use an equalizer to dampen down the music. And I admit I know more about cameras than I do with microphones, but I still use a graphic equalizer to lower the frequency of the music inside Premiere. Just take a listen to the music before So we've looked at the fundamentals of creating a cinematic and professional looking video with lighting, audio, background music. If you do these things, you'll definitely increase the quality of your videos. If you want to know more about the gear I'm using to make this video, follow the link in the description to kit.com/Axel Oak and you'll find all the info there.